Okay, so yeah, you talk about coaching, and that was a sort of a realization that perhaps that you had to change your approach. To realize there are more than one ways to skin a cat. We have, that saying, or to skin a bear. I don't know what it is in Portuguese, or not Portuguese, Spanish, or German, or Colombian. So okay, so you went through that kind of process, and can you tell me what you mean by leading with heart? I mean, what does that mean? Because it's just it could be just a fluffy thing. Yeah. What does leading by heart mean?
Yeah. So for me, it means obviously many things, right? There's a lot of traits that a leader with her heart needs to have, right? Which is
Yeah.
being authentic, being straightforward, knowing how to give feedback, and so on and so on. So there are a lot of characteristics of a leadership
Okay.
with heart. But for me, the most important part is caring about the person you have in front of you and seeing them as a person, not as
Right.
a numbers in your P&L. And I genuinely believe that if you look at the person as a human with skills, ability, things they do amazing, things they maybe don't do that good, then
Hmm.
you can set up a team of people where everyone can shine where they are the best. If you look at the person as a job role, as a someone who was hired to do a task, then maybe it's good. Maybe you look lucky and the person will excel.
Hmm.
But if you understand that the person has, I don't know, fears, passions, dreams, things they excel, then you
Hmm.
will be able to do a team that is the perfect combination of skills. I'm gonna try to make an example. In my
Okay.
team, in my previous team, one of our activities that we need to be great at is communication, right? We have to communicate and to present complicated technology solutions in a simple way so that the buyer at the other end understands what's in it for me, for my business, for my process, and buys it. If you have a very technical solution and you cannot explain it because it's so complex, then how am I going to sell it, right? So, one of the most important skills you need to have is storytelling, charisma, understanding, reading the customer, and trying to sell, right? Telling the story.
Hmm.
So I had one person in my team. He was great. He was hired to do that job. He has a solution. He needs to present it in a good way. He was incredible. He was able to put solutions in the most complex, crazy way and create one process flow. Super cool. He did amazing PowerPoints, the most beautiful ones. He was creative, everything. He was ready for it. He knew what he was talking about. And every time he went to the customer, I got the feedback too complex. We don't understand. Too
Hmm.
boring. We get bored. He takes him
Oh
too
God.
long to explain. So I I decided to say, okay, let's put this is easy to solve, right? You go to a training and you learn how to speak in
Hmm.
public. That's it. How easy is that, right? And this goes to my coaching anecdote as well. I try to solve that problem with my eyes, with my how I would do it. I don't know how to speak. I go to a training and they teach me how to speak. That's it. He went through that training. He got good feedback. He came back. I sent him like super proud. Now he's gonna do it. He went to the customer feedback. Too complex. We didn't get it. It's impossible. We don't. Can you send us someone else? And I was like, how is this possible? So that's when I realized, first, the coaching part, but second,
Yeah.
the leading with heart. Leading with heart was sitting with him. He was absolutely embarrassed that he messed up again after all the money spent, the time,
Yeah.
and so on. And I said to him, it doesn't matter. Forget about the feedback. We all make mistakes. It doesn't matter. Forget about it. Just I want to understand what is it that you like, what is it that you like about this job, what motivates you. And to make the long story short, he hated presenting. He had panic presenting. He knew what he had to do. He learned the techniques. When he was in front of the customer, he just panicked. He got mm, he couldn't. And it was not his
Right.
passion. That didn't make him happy, but he was amazing configuring systems. And you know what? We have people in the team who are amazing presenters and not that good configuring systems. So what
Mhm.
I did is I split the team into back end and front end. Back end was helping configuring cool solutions, being on the technology, creating and innovating. And then we had the part that was able to go out and present it. Incredible.
Mm.
Excelling team, developing team. The guy was the happiest. The one who could present and didn't have to do the technology part was even better. And the feedback was, Christina, that duo is incredible. So, leading with heart to your question is understand, taking the time and paying attention to understand the person so that you
Mhm.
can configure the team in a way that it will excel. So
Got
I
it.
hope that
Yeah, yeah.
explains it. And while doing that, you need to be authentic, right? If you're not,
Mhm.
then how are you going to? If you're not authentically caring about your people, it's weird to fake it. You need to
Sure.
care. You need to give feedback. You need to be prepared to give feedback. But feedback for me, in a leading with heart context, is the most incredible gift of
Mhm.
I care about you. You know, I've read so many books. There is the sandwich way of giving feedback, right? Say something nice, then say the bad thing, then say something nice. There's so many theories on feedback. In my case, if you're leading with heart, you don't need to care about the feedback techniques because it's the most genuine way of
Mhm.
sharing, of showing that you care about the person. I care so much about you in my team that I want you to grow. I want you to grow. I want you to develop. I want you to focus on that where you're good and make it even better. Does that sound like an answer to you?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a great answer. So, and I think that but your research, you mentioned that you yourself were the center of your inquiry here. You know, you at every opportunity, I can see this. It's in your DNA. You are evaluating and thinking about it, reflecting on it, modifying your own approach to your team, and coming up with very creative solutions. I think it's a wonderful approach. But you've also approached some of your peers, is that right? You also went out and you had conversations about leadership with other managers, or was that not part of your kind of research approach as well?
No, absolutely. I obviously went to the more experienced seniors and asked them so many things. How do you do it? How do you approach situations? So that was really important because again, these are things you cannot do by yourself, especially if you're new in managers. For me, one of the most important parts is having a mentor, right? A
Mhm.
mentor that really guides and helps you. And during my
Yeah.
entire master's, I had this mentor and I evaluated many things with this person. And the cool thing is that my mentor, which by the way is one of my favorite persons still in SAP,
Great.
he is what I would call old fashioned, old way of thinking kind of leadership.
Okay.
But that was really cool because he genuinely tried to understand me without forgetting where he comes from. And the
Okay.
combination was great because when I became too fluffy, he put the plan below it. So he said,
Okay.
okay, that's nice, sounds nice, but what's the plan, right? So I learned a lot about it, and I can tell you another anecdote which was really cool, and that was one person in my team. He got a prize. No, she, it was a she got a prize. Top performing people can go to Hawaii 1 week in SAP. It's an
Yeah, yeah.
incredible prize. Very few people get it, and she got the prize, and then she asked for vacations, 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
then there was a meeting outside in New York where we wanted to send that person 3 weeks. In my leadership with heart was like, she deserves the prize 1 week. She deserves the vacation. Why not? She's already there, right? And
Yeah.
then she's gonna travel. So of course, why not? And this is leading with heart. You are the cool
Yeah, yeah.
person. You give her the prize, the vacations, the blah blah. And then I talked to my mentor and I said, super excited, and she's incredible, and she did this and that, and then she said, we are in Q2. We're coming into vacations where the business goes flat. Who's gonna take over what she's doing 3 weeks? I don't think she should go. And that's old-fashioned minded. Of course she can go. And then what he was trying to tell me is she can go, but what is the plan? What are the
Okay.
businesses she needs to take care of? What are the red flags we need to be aware of? What happens? Do you have all the information in case you need to jump in? So that was really, really cool because having this seniority,
Mhm.
helping me all the time, helped me to bring the fluffiness, which is beautiful,
Yeah, yeah.
into reality, and mm, adapted to business. And that was a huge part of everything, right? Because at the end, you still need to bring results, you still need to
Mhm.
report to shareholders, and someone is going to measure you by numbers and KPIs. So if you can combine both, then
Perfect.
that's the deal.
So, okay, so it's a great segue into my next question, which is about results. You wanted to link, the results with leading with heart. So tell me what, you've done all this research, over a long period of time. What results did you get?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the first is, I'm very proud to say this, is we became the most performing team within SAP Spain. So that's already huge. And the way
Mm,
it's measured, it's we were the biggest team. The most resources and investment was in that team. We were recognized as the best team in EMEA South, winning a lot of prizes. We created best practices around the globe, and many people in the team won prizes. So for me, that's a KPI, a measurable
mm,
KPI already. So that was pretty, pretty incredible. I have to say that when I joined as the manager, the team was a very demotivated team,
mhm.
with a lot of bad feedback. And that team, we are supporting sales. So we are, in theory, we should be a nice marriage
Yeah,
between
yeah.
sales and pre-sales, because we have to work, we need each other, right? And if we work together, then we get results. It was not, it was like a horrible divorce we were going through. So very demotivated team. When a team is demotivated, why do you have to work? I don't like what I do. I'll just work the minimum so I get paid because it's just a job, right? First thing. Second thing is competition is everywhere. So your eyes and your ears are super open for the
Mhm.
competition. I had people who told me, competition is offering me 5,000 euros more. I'm going to leave. I was like, no, wait, give us a chance for five. If you're gonna leave, at least make it for more money, right? Then not like, this is how it was. And obviously, if you think as SAP, a company that needs to sell, we are right, we're selling
Mhm.
software, we have selling KPIs. If you are divorced and going through fights with the salespeople because you don't understand them, you don't agree, you are just enemies, how are you going to go as a united front and sell something to a customer, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So this is the first thing we needed to fix. It is, how do you motivate them so they feel like their job is more than, oh, it just is a job because I need to eat and give food to my children, to,
Mhm.
my God, there's something in it. I love this. It's Monday and I love what I'm
Mhm.
doing. This is the first. And then second, how do you bring them to understand and have that empathy through what sales are going through, their pressure on forecast, on pipeline, on KPIs? And also the salespeople, how do you empathize on the importance of understanding that you need to sell something that the customer wants to buy, not just selling because of
Mhm.
the sake of selling? And that made one of the greatest teams in 4 years. At the end, I stayed 4 years in that team. So I think that was the most rewarding exercise, but also the proof, and the
Yeah, yeah.
KPIs are there, right?
Yeah,
Improvement in
yeah.
sales, a bigger team, investment in more team. Nobody left, everyone is there, people promoted.
Yeah, yeah. It hits. I can see that. I can see. It's a wonderful story how actually, I need to ask you one other question. Were you dealing with the same team members at the beginning? I mean, did you get rid of team, or did you work with the people that you inherited, if you like, when you took on this leadership role?
So the first thing I need to say is that during my masters, I got promoted twice. So thank you, Phil,
Okay.
for that.
Okay. That's a pleasure.
So, which
That's
means
fantastic.
I've had different teams, but the cool
Ah,
thing is
okay.
I grew. I got promoted from a small team to a bigger team to a bigger team to the director of the. So I knew the people,
Yeah.
some of them, because they were,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
You were staying in the same sort
I
of
was staying
division.
exactly in the same division. So that's the first thing. The second thing is some of them were my friends because at the beginning we were peers.
Yeah.
And the third is it was an inherited team. And then we started doing some changes. But the cool part about those changes were we got some people moving because they got promoted. That's always good.
Yeah. That's always positive. Yeah.
And we got more people because it was the team got investment. We could hire more people.
Okay.
So we hired in the past 2 years lots of new people, younger generations, and also some senior people. So I think it was, yeah, what can I say? Objectively speaking, one of the best teams we had.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Christina, if I was approaching you for a job, yeah, to work in your team, what sort of qualities would you look for?
Oh, so no, absolutely. So first, there is something that for me is super important, and that is attitude. That's the
Okay.
and you this is
Yeah.
something you can feel it. You can see how the person goes through the door and says hello. You almost can start getting a feeling for it. So for me, attitude is super important, and motivation. I think we hear a lot about the companies need to motivate you. They need to motivate you. I think I'm a bit skeptical about it. I think motivation comes
Okay.
from within. I think you need
Okay.
to be motivated, and then our job is to keep you.
Yeah,
That's for
yeah.
sure. But I think the motivation comes from home, if you can say it like that. The
Yeah.
attitude is super important because it's tough. You have good times, you have bad times, you have times where you can have a very nice well-being balance, and then there's times where you have to sacrifice a little bit your time.
Mhm.
um, there's times where you are selling and there's times where you're not selling. The competition is hard, so for me, attitude, how you confront problems, that's the most important part of it.
Mm.
um, I also put a lot of emphasis on soft skills. So for
Okay.
me, the hard skills, I genuinely believe you can learn them. I think you
Mhm.
can almost learn anything or everything. And if you
Yeah.
cannot, you'll need to balance, where are you going? For example, in my case, I would never dare of thinking of being a chemist or a physicist. It's not in my
Yeah,
heart. But
yeah.
if you're applying for a job, we kind of understand that you have read through the job description, and some of the skills, hard
Mm.
skills that you see, are compatible to what you like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
life, at least.
Yeah, yeah.
So attitude, soft skills. How do you communicate? Are you empathetic? Are you listening? How do you look? Are you looking at the eyes? Are you paying attention? So those are skills that are very, very important to me.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
great.
And I
So I'll
genuinely.
be putting in my application for a job very soon. So Christina, just I can't speak Spanish though. So anyway.
No,
um,
yeah. I know it sounds like a cliche, but I think um, it, if you hire genuinely good people from the heart, with a good attitude, with they want to be part of a group, teamwork skills, and so on, you will have a great dynamic in the team, which is better
mhm.
to have someone who is maybe an absolute genius but will disrupt the team, the culture,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the nice thing you get going on, right? Because it's about the team, it's not about individuals only.
I'm I imagine that through the process of building up this very successful team in your division in Spain, it rubbed off on other teams as well. Is that correct? So when you talk about culture, and you're talking about organizational culture rather than team culture, um, I guess there are other people looking at what you're doing, saying, What's going on over there in pre-sales? They seem to be doing pretty well." Is that right? Or have you found people kind of jealous of this success at all that you've had, or resistant to it? I mean, what?
So let me talk about the negatives of it. I know we always
Okay,
start with the positives, but not everything
okay,
is good. So I'm going to explain two things. The first one is when I joined and I started growing in my team, I had very, very senior people. And at the
okay.
beginning, they were very hesitant. What is this young lady always smiling and hi and talk about leadership with heart? What is she going to teach me? I've been 15,
Yeah,
25 years with SAP. I'm an
okay.
extremely recognized person. And for me, there's always two parts. For me, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say to these people? They are so much better than me. What can I teach them? I'm a nobody. So it's both sides, right? Because as I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
I did not get infused by wisdom suddenly. No, no, I was still. But I understood that it's not only about knowledge that you as a manager need to work or teach. There are many different ways you can support those people. And even if they are the most senior people who have 20 years more than you would have experienced, there are other areas where they're in spaces where you can help or support. For
Mhm.
example, I don't know if this is a generational topic, this would be another podcast, but the
Mm.
generations of before, they are not used to selling themselves. I do my work,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
great at it. And
Mhm.
if someone sees me and promotes me, good, but I'm not going to be vocal about it. So that's a
Mhm.
place where you can take them and say, you are doing great. Why don't we showcase this as a best practice? And this is how you can
Mhm.
help these other generations or more senior
Okay.
people. So that was very interesting. So this is one thing that I was really scared of, and that it was not easy at the beginning. And not many of those senior people respected me, and I had to earn their trust and respect.
Mhm.
And then on the other side, there are always the comments of, oh, look at Christina, look how she sells herself. She's always talking, always smiling, always saying hello to everyone. Oh my God, she doesn't
Mhm.
work. There's so little she does because she has time for everybody. Do you know how many
Mhm.
times I heard that when I did little practices like onboardings, or like when someone was onboarded, I invited everyone that was going to work with that person to send a message in a whiteboard, really cool, and we send it as a
Mm.
welcome card. Or birthdays, we created a chat for birthdays, or and so on
Mhm.
and so on. And the comments were, she must not work, she has time for all of that. She sells
Yeah.
herself, she's always smiling and everyone loud and so on. So there is a lot of that, but that's life. Who cares? I mean, I remember uh, when I started to have a name for myself, and everyone asked, "What are you doing?" Especially because we have um, employee surveys; they're anonymous,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where you get the tough feedback. And I got 3 years in a row 100% leadership score. So obviously
Wow.
they started asking me questions, right? So I went to this manager's office and that. And I remember one time someone said, he didn't notice I was listening, and he said, she's always selling herself, look at her. And I realized
Mm.
it, and I said to him, yeah, why don't you learn? It's cool, look at me, look where I am. you know what
Mhm.
can you do? So to your question, jealousy, maybe, I don't know. I don't like to think what is going
Yeah, yeah.
on. I just I don't understand their circumstances. Maybe they're going through something, and you need to keep doing what you're doing if it's impacting in the positive way, right? And
Yeah,
if
yeah. Sure.
not, then if there's genuine feedback, then listen to it, because
Mhm.
maybe it's interesting, right? So that was the bad parts. For example, I got a very interesting feedback that I didn't understand at that time. Now I understood it. Is your passion is so, it's like a train, and trains run over people. The first time I
Mhm.
heard that was like, oh my God, I am passionate.
Mm.
You wish you were, all of your employees were as passionate me, blah. That must be crazy. And then I realized it. I took the time to say, what does this person mean by it? And I understood it.
Yeah.
Yes, sometimes you need to take a step back. Sometimes you need to shut up. Sometimes your passion is not positive on
Mhm.
everybody. And it was really cool feedback. Now that person, I love her. She is,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she was tough on me. She was very tough on me. So if the feedback is coming, if the feedback is tough, but it's feedback, listen to it and try to
Mhm.
understand. If it's blah 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 comments on the coffee corners, forget about it.
Yeah.
Right, that's life. Yeah.
S
And the positive side, I'm just gonna say one thing. There is it's a funny story, and that was I had a manager previously. It's a she. She was the COO of Spain. Very tough, very aggressive. Very good numbers, mathematicians. And at the beginning, when they told me she was gonna be my manager, I was like, "Oh my God, you will see how when she sees me, that's gonna be like an explosion, water and it was the most incredible relationship I've had, manager employee,
Mm.
because I learned from her to be more logical, more
Mhm.
quiet, more strategic, less passionate, impulsive. And the funniest part is she is very, cold and distant. And every time I finished my team meetings, we have a inside joke, which is, I love you all in a compliant way, right? Because we always, everything needs to be compliant. And it got a joke. It was a joke. So it got like my signature ending. And now the COO is saying in every team meeting, as Christina would say, I love you all in a compliant way. So that is very cool when you're seeing this,
That is.
you know, distant kind of more aggressive person saying that. It's like, you see, you have some
Yeah.
impact.
That's fantastic. Well, that's a wonderful story, and I think the living embodiment of everything you've done is remarkable to hear. Um, can you tell us now what your role is? You've gone through two promotions. You said during the masters. I'm sure you've been through some other changes since the masters is finished. So, just paint a quick picture of where you are now in the organization.
Yes. So right now, I am a global leader of strategy, industries and strategy. That's the department, how it's called, for customer advisory. So everything that is pre-sales, sales, everything that is the previous to the sale point. So I'm
Yeah.
leading the strategy team, and that is obviously super important, super
Mm.
interesting and complementary to what has been my career. I've always been in the field,
Yeah.
let's say selling, and now I can complement my career with the strategic part, right? Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
cool because you need to
It is.
do the ground and field work help me, that these strategic beautiful things that you put on PowerPoint, they need to be actionable, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm super excited. I started 3 months and 28 days ago, and let's see how
Okay.
it goes.
So have you ever felt there was a bit of a glass ceiling, for women, to reach these senior positions? But I know that SAP is an incredibly, takes diversity and, so seriously. But have you sensed that there've been invisible barriers at all in your own progression?
So um, the answer is a little bit more complex. Let me try to explain why. So, first is, I don't think it's the company. As you said, we are incredible. SAP has done so much effort in
Mm.
diversity, in inclusion. The opportunities are there. In my experience, I've never felt like someone is putting a top on my career, and because you're a woman, you cannot grow. But I do think that there are, or the perception and the way we teach about technology, about sales, is
Mhm.
is makes it very hard for us women to believe we can grow. So let me give you an example. Sales. The first thing you hear, I remember when I joined, they took me to a negotiation training, and the
Yeah.
negotiation training was done by a great guy who was a military guy who did negotiation of hostages.
Okay.
Imagine I was sitting there saying, if sales needs the skills of a negotiation with hostages, I didn't leave Colombia for a better world to go into sales and negotiate with hostages. So
Okay.
this was for me like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Second thing is, you hear sales need to be hunters, sales need to be farmers. When have you seen females hunters, with guns? No, at least in the previous years. Now maybe you see girls with guns hunting,
Yeah. Yeah.
or farmers, the girl with the, in the axe, in the, you have not seen that. So you hear negotiation with hostages, then you hear farmers and hunters, then you hear stress, quotas, pipeline and forecast, no life, forget about your children, forget about your life. Do you think I want to grow? Do you think
Mm.
I want to continue growing in my career? Oh my God, no, please no. Like, I don't want to hunt. I don't want a hostage. I don't want a gun. I don't want to farm anything. So that is what I think. There are very little compelling things about sales for a woman. One.
Okay.
Second, now let's talk about technology. Programming, developing, all the movies you see some people in a basement eating pizza and doing stuff in the computer. No, that's not it, you know? So it is very difficult. So to answer your question, no, I have not felt that the company or that there are some barriers of someone, let's say, or a group of people uh, mm, putting a barrier you cannot grow. But I do
Hmm.
think that society, teaching, books, movies, whatever, gives you a sense of what am I doing here as a woman? I don't want to be that.
Hmm.
So why should I even care about promoting if here where I am, I'm not hostages, farmers, hunters, techies in a basement with pizza? Not for me, So
Yeah.
I think that that most likely answers your question, hopefully.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, it does. I think yeah, I think what you're saying is that that I mean, sales in itself has got a bad image. Sort of who wants to go into sales, right? Very few school children will say, "Well, I want a career in sales." But what you're also saying is that the metaphors, that are used, to describe sales, like hunting, farming, and so on, are very kind of male orientated as well. So on both counts, we have a challenge recruiting great talent, like yourself into sales. And it makes me wonder, why did you get into sales, Christina? What are you a hunter? But you haven't told us yet. I mean, why did you go into sales? Maybe your grandfather was a good salesperson. I don't know, your father or your parents. So, what brought you into
No,
it?
no, absolutely no. Not at all. Not a hunter, not a farmer, no, nothing. The, the closest I am to a farmer is I have a dog and I take care of the dog, and
Okay.
that's it. Let's.
Okay.
No, I
But you're
think that
competitive. You are competitive.
I am
I mean, I know
competitive.
you're very happy and you talk, you've got a hugely caring, but you're incredibly competitive, I think.
I
You
am incredibly competitive. I am ambitious. I
yeah,
love challenges. So
right.
that's compelling, but that's me. Not
Yeah.
everyone is like that.
Not everyone has that. Yeah.
But I think the most important part of sales that made me realize that I love what I do is the purpose of it. And I'm going to tell you a very
Okay.
quick story that has nothing to do with it, but it will get to a point.
Okay.
I went to the hairdresser a few days back, and I went and I said, I want a haircut and I want you to brush my hair and so on. And then she said, any special occasion? And I said, yes, actually, yes. I'm going to date a guy. This is going to be my first date with a guy. I'm genuinely interested. And she said, oh my God, I need to make the best out of you because this is the first step in love. In our love relationship. So at the end, I said, "Thank you. Oh, I'm so good." And she said, "Good luck." And I said, "Thank you for my haircut." And she said, "That was not a haircut. That's love. That's the first
Ah.
step for your love life." So this takes me to my point. It's the purpose of what
Yeah.
you are selling that makes this so interesting. So
Yeah.
if you understand that whatever it is you're selling, a product, a technology, a solution, a whatever service, right? It's the means to someone else's end.
Mhm.
That is fantastic because you're part
Yeah,
of
yeah.
it. This is
Yeah.
what is for me the most exciting part about sales. If you're selling technology, you're helping transform a company to become optimized, efficient, better, cooler, to survive in the world. If you're selling, imagine now we are very much into sustainability topics. If you're selling technology for sustainability, you're helping companies, you're helping the world, and you're part of that. So that is super inspiring. You are helping someone to do something that is for the better. And that is what I genuinely love about sales, because it's the first step, right? You
Mm,
are working with someone, understanding what is it that they want to transform. And if they are reaching out for you for your service, your technology, your consulting skills, your product, whatever it is you're selling, it's because you have a piece of know how that you just need to put in a big puzzle to get the big picture done. And that
mhm,
is the reason I'm in sales. That is the reason I continue doing this. And this is what I would love that we would associate sales with, not hunters,
mm,
farmers, and negotiating hostages.
mm. That was brilliant. I've got one final question because I know we're reaching the half hour soon. What would your grandfather say about you now, do you think?
Oh my God.
We started off with your grandfather, so I
Right.
thought, we need to bring him back in. We need to if
We,
he was listening to this podcast, what do you think he would feel?
I think he would be incredibly proud
Yeah, I'm sure
uh,
he would.
of everything. I think he would say stuff like, but don't forget to eat chocolate every day. That makes you
Okay.
happy.
That's great.
Don't forget to walk and look at nature. That's the most important
Okay.
thing. That's for sure.
Okay.
And then he would nag me a little bit. You know, he was old fashioned. What can we do? We cannot change
Yeah, yeah.
everything. He would say,
Okay.
why are you still not married? What's happening there? But all in all, he would be extremely, extremely proud. He
Yeah,
was
I'm sure.
already when I was younger. I was one of his favorites, I must admit, because I used to read and sing in German, and that was for him like, oh my God, she speaks German. So that was cool. But I think he would be most proud of the person I am, and
Yeah.
not the title or the salary or the company I'm working for.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right. It's yeah, just lovely. Well, Christine, I think we've reached the end of our podcast. Thank you so much for taking part and sharing these incredible stories. I think it's absolutely amazing what you've achieved, and you're a great example. I think for leadership, a great example for successful women in sales, but also a great promoter of the profession itself. So I just think it's wonderful. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Always happy to
Always.
speak. But the most important part of my thank you is the masters genuinely changed my life. So I think that's something for
Oh,
you to take to you and your team, because the learnings went beyond tools, business cases, topics. It was from
yeah,
the
yeah.
inside, it sticks.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's that's what I love about the masters. You give people some space to do as you've done. It's for me, I just love hearing the stories, And yours is very remarkable. So I'm looking forward to the next 5 years, wondering where's Christina going to go now. Where's yeah, I don't know, but it's gonna be somewhere fun. I can tell you that. Okay, Christina, thank you so much. I'll say goodbye, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Bye bye. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Cheerio.